On stage, Cliff, your tour looks absolutely immaculate. Here in the rehearsal studio, it looks like absolute chaos.
Rubbish. Well, you know, obviously when we're going to go on tour, you can't actually carry the stage around with you everywhere. So what we tend to do is rehearse rather basically, with just the musicians and just microphones in this what looks to me like a rather large sock, soundproof but very hot. And it's not until we get nearer the actual main production that we'll move all of this out into, in fact, this year we're going to the Dockland Arena and taking it over for a fortnight and set the whole staging up, 100 foot of staging, and actually rehearse it with then the same kind of stage effects that we'll be having when we're actually on the road.
Now, this tour is called Access All Areas, which means a lot to people in the business. They're used to that phrase, but people that aren't in the business wouldn't have a clue what that meant, probably.
No, well, maybe not, but I guess anybody that's been to a concert and has ever tried to get backstage before now will know that they see people who are personnel of the tour, and they tend to wear badges or, you know, in the case of these Access All Area cards, they're usually sort of laminates with usually the tour logo printed on them, and it says Access All Areas, which means that that person can pass back and front of house anywhere backstage. It is a privileged little card, and so it seemed a good choice of title. It's not totally original. It was when I thought of it, but then I was told that Bon Jovi actually did a video called Access All Areas, but no album. And so I thought, as I was going to do an album called Access All Areas, we should call the tour similarly. But that's basically what it's based on, the fact that that little card gets you anywhere you want to go. And, you know, we're touring, so we're going where we want to go. In terms of my album, I chose the title because I tried to do on this new album various types of pop rock, you know. There are not only just the sort of regular ballad-type songs, there's stuff that I wouldn't normally get sent to me. And how I got these songs, I don't know, but they're just different in terms of style. For me, they're not Summer Holiday or Congratulations.
Because you're one of the only people in this country that are really actively looking for songs. I mean, years ago, songwriters were an integral part of the business. I mean, they were very much part of the jigsaw. It's still the case in the States. Here, you and maybe one or two other major artists are the only ones now looking for songs.
Yes, I'm not quite sure why that went down the tubes, really. It seems to me that if, in fact, our industry, which apparently it is suffering at all, surely it must be suffering because we're not actually projecting out to the public the kind of things that they actually want to buy. If there's a down slump in the sale of records, surely that's because we're making records that people don't want. I've always waved the flag for singers and songs. You know, I have openly admitted I'm not a great fan of sort of rap stuff. I mean, I can take it or leave it. I mean, MC Hammer, yeah, I think he's an exception. I like 2 or 3 of the things he's done, but that really is an exception. On the whole, I can't see myself saying, all together now in 10 years' time, and everyone goes into this great rap number that they heard 10 years previously. So I still look for songs, and fortunately, Mike, there are still people who write songs who need an outlet. So people like myself, we're very fortunate because they know, for instance, that I don't write a lot myself, and therefore I'm waiting for songs to come through. And I've never been let down yet. When we first started recording Access All Areas, we only had about 4 songs, and within about a month of actually getting to planning stages and arranging, suddenly on the desk at the office, we had a whole batch of tapes, played them through, and there they were. I found all these wonderful songs, all these songs I think are wonderful. And, you know, the success of the album, if it is going to be a success, will be because I managed to find good songs.
Do people take them through mounds and mounds of cassettes, which I know you do? You and David Price sit in the office for a day, lock yourselves in. Do you find songs tailored that sound like Cliff?
Yes, but they're the ones I tend not to record. I mean, that's not true of everything I hear that is tailored for me, because obviously there are some songs. For instance, if people write a song that they feel is like Miss Unites, I'm going to get it. If I think it's half as good as Miss Unites, I'm going to want to record it anyway. But on the whole, I mean, the best way, when I meet writers and they say to me, I've got a song that's just up your street, I always say, look, fine, send that to me, but can you send me the other stuff that you think's not for me? Because when you think about it, I mentioned Miss Unites. Miss Unites, for instance, was not sent for me. Bruce Welch, who found it, in fact, was sent a tape, and on that tape was marked another song, which Bruce played all the way through and didn't like. And before he reached the tape recorder to switch it off, Miss Unites started. It was the next track on the album. And that's the one we all liked. So sometimes writers think they know what we singers are into, whereas they don't know what's going on in our heads or what directions we're trying to go to. So I always say to writers, send me what you think is your best material. If I can't sing it, I won't. If I don't like it, I won't. I'll only sing what I like anyway. And in that, so far, it's worked really well. I've been able to find songs that people wouldn't normally expect me to sing and inject them onto albums that I've recorded in the past.
What about fan reaction to the songs? Because songs like Ocean Deep, originally a B-side, whenever there's a poll now, it invariably comes in the top three.
Yes, it's a very difficult area, you know. With ballads, in fact, in the case of Ocean Deep, there was such an enormous reaction to it live on stage. The fans do know what they like and what they don't like, and it was a massive reaction. Admittedly, we did it in a very dramatic, fantastic way with lasers and everything, and I sank into this ocean of green. And but nevertheless, the reaction was very positive. And when I asked EMI if we could release this as a single, they, and quite rightly, I suppose, because this has been happening in the past. They said, look, it's really hard to break a ballad. When we're trying to get records off to DJs, it's better if we can do a song that's bright and up and the DJ can play early morning, wake people up with. And I thought, well, I suppose so. But in the end, I think we missed out on a song that could well have been a top 10 hit if we'd released it originally. In fact, it failed as a B-side, at least the A-side failed. They then switched it, and I think that was too late. And so we missed on both counts.
Do you listen to the fans at all? I mean, if there's a great wave of something coming from a direction, you think, hey, wait a minute, are they right? I mean, do you listen to them?
Yes, although it's difficult to say I do because we don't often give them the chance to hear all the material before we release it. I mean, it's just not practically possible. So in the end, you trust to your own instincts. But, I'm thinking back to way back when the Shadows and I were recording. We played them a whole batch of songs, and Please Don't Tease was one of them. And they chose that one out of 16 and said, that's the one. And it was a number one. I wish, in fact, that I could play my album to all my fans every time, a month before we release anything.
Well, we did that before at the Palladium about, 3 years ago?
We did, yeah. Now, which one did they choose? Stronger?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, mind you, Stronger was a hit, of course. They were right about that. Although we didn't release it first. Quite often, my policy has always been to say, okay, if we've got 4 songs that we think are singles, let's release one of them, but save at least one that we think's the best one to either the second or the third single. And that, again, is probably what's going to happen with this next album.
This next tour, Access All Areas, is there something very special about it for you? Is it a magical tour? Is there something that's giving you that extra kick maybe that you didn't have last time?
Well, it's hard to say that because every time I go on tour, I feel it's one of the best things I've done. And so this one, in fact, all we've done is change all the effects, and I think the fans are going to be very thrilled with this massive Cinerama scope type rock and roll production.
So, Cliff, a 1992 message for the fans.
Well, only that I really appreciated all the support over the years. I hope they've enjoyed this tour. I've spent a lot of time planning things like this. It's the most technical one we've done, and I look forward to being on the road in a couple of years' time. I'll see them all then.